Hi, this is Emily Deaton, and you're listening to my friend Matthew Shapiro's podcast, Six Wheels Consulting Disability.
Welcome to the Six Wheels Consulting Podcast, dialoguing disability and discussing difference, inclusion, and all abilities in today's world. Now here are your hosts, Matthew Shapiro and Bob Nolly.
You found your way back, and I'm so glad you did. Come on in. We got seats. Have a seat. No pushing. We're crowded today. We have company. You found your way back to the Six Wheels Disability Podcast. I'm Dr. Bob Nolly, and here is my good buddy, Matthew Shapiro. Matthew, how are you?
I am just peachy, Bob. I am doing
peachy.
Great.
Always a suspect word, peachy.
Always great to hear your voice, and excited for the episode we have today.
Right back at you, bud. Right back at you. So it's a big day here because, you know, when you're growing up, your mom always says, go wash your face, company's coming. You know, go wash your hands, company's. We have company here today, so everybody behave. We're very fortunate to have Marie Dagenais-Lewis here. She's a motivational speaker, an award-winning broadcast director, we could use that, an artist, and most importantly, a disability rights leader in the disability community and a proponent of the rare community, which I hope she talks about at some point. So, Marie Dagenais-Lewis, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great.
Oh, that's great.
Great job pronouncing my last name. You nailed it.
I fell asleep working hard on it last night. That's it. That's it. So how did you and Matthew collide? How did you all get to know one another?
So actually, a couple years ago, we were both judges on, I believe it was the 2018 Miss Wheelchair Virginia judge panel. And so that's how I met Matthew, because we both were participating in that. We just stayed connected over the years, followed up with each other's advocacy. And now that I'm taking more of an interest and leave with my advocacy career, basically, really awesome getting connected to Matthew, who has such an already expansive career with it. He's a great mentor for me, for sure.
Well, Bob, she made me sound really good. I'm flying by the seat of my pants.
We all need that shot in the arm. Yeah, that's good.
It's great. Yeah, no, would you be surprised to know, Bob, that I judged a beauty pageant, which was quite.
Actually, I'm not surprised you were the first in line, pounding on the door, rolling the wheels into the door, going, me first, me first.
Probably was. It was quite an interesting experience for sure.
Oh, it was a great weekend. I really loved that weekend. I'm glad I still remember it, honestly.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. It was a good time, and a lot of good people part of the pageant, and that's where we met. So, so talk a little bit, Marie, about the work that you're doing, and like we can sort of, I think that'll tee up a really nice conversation between us. But talk about your rare advocacy and all of that.
Yeah, so basically, I've been an advocate since about 2016, just sharing my story on social media. And just starting to bring awareness to my rare disease and just the fact that you can be disabled and still not look it. And in March of 2020, I created my organization, Rare Advocates Representing Everyone. It's me and my husband, and we run this massive advocacy brand that basically we do a little bit of everything. We just want to be a safe place for people to feel empowered and to share their stories, because as you know full well, the world is so ableist, it's not even funny. Yes. Like, it is ingrained into our society. It is ingrained into our being. People everywhere just have negativity. And if you're a disabled person, you are just constantly forced to live with not only discrimination and this negative energy, but you're also expected to be okay with that. And you're also expected to feel a certain way about other things all the time and just be okay with being overlooked.
Sure. And
so I created the Rare Community, and it's also a social media network. It's a separate platform, completely separate from Instagram, Facebook, any Twitter, any social media network. I wanted it to be a place that had mental health boundaries, because again, like I mentioned, so much negativity is all over social media, and I don't go on social media to debate anything. I go on social media to get support. and
Sure.
to spread awareness about disability and disability rights. And so I couldn't find that community that was exactly for that. So I made it instead.
Nice. No, that's awesome. Do you find, I want to kind of go back to something you said, because I'm always intrigued by this, because I've never been really able to find a way around this, because of, when people see me, they immediately know, oh yeah, he's disabled. But do you find that discrimination that you mentioned, do you find that hits, like, is harder on you as somebody who, as you said, doesn't look disabled, and knowing you like I do, I can 100% vouch for that. You are a model for sure, and people would not know you had disabilities without knowing your story. So do you find that, like, that discrimination sort of hits harder?
Yeah, so it's really hard to say if it hits harder, because
Right.
I'm a firm believer that we in the disability community need to understand every single one of us have a separate experience. Because if we start to compare our experiences and say, like, oh, well, I deal with this, so you should feel lucky, we start to feel invalidated and overlooked within our own community. And
Sure.
so while I don't want to say it's harder, because I don't know what other people deal with, I do know it's definitely a whole different level. Because, again, now I'm in a wheelchair when I'm at work, because I'm a fall risk and I have a lot of neurological problems. My joints dislocate all the time. But, again, you don't physically see that. So
Right.
people that see me in a wheelchair, they know I'm disabled. They probably assume it's my MHE and not anything else. And so when I finally explained why I'm in this wheelchair, they got really scared. And
Sure.
so I know it's really frustrating for me personally, because I just, in every aspect of my life, between my career, my professional life, my health life, like trying to get better care and trying to get a better quality of life, it's so frustrating because I look okay. Like,
Sure.
they can't believe that I can handle this amount of pain, this amount of stress, this amount of medical conditions with a smile on my face and still be able to direct the news.
Sure.
Like, well, okay, right now I can't direct the news. I'm too sick that I'm on medical leave, and I have a stroke when I direct the news. Can't do it. And it really sucks. But that's besides the point. They still can't believe I'm still so functioning and I'm happy with my life.
Sure. Can you, so I know you pretty well, but for our listeners, can you kind of break down your disabilities? Because you and I often laugh quite a bit. You have quite the laundry list. So do you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, so it's a lot. I have more than fingers to count on, because I was born with this rare genetic disorder called multiple hereditary exostosis. And that was my first one. And so all my life, we always thought it was just a rare bone disease. But recently I found out it is much more than a bone disease. It actually means every single cell in my body is dysfunctional. It's from my brain all the way down to my toes. Every single thing in my body is built differently. And we don't know how, because the Lynn Research Foundation doesn't really want to grasp that yet. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, because of that, I have a slew of problems. I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, myalgic encephalomyelitis, fibromyalgia, psoriasis, arthritis, Raynaud syndrome, POTS, mast cell activation disorder, undiagnosed gastric problems that have the same symptoms as gastroparesis, but they like to say it was in my head and that I was anorexic. But
Sure.
now I'm trying to get that diagnosis.
So nothing.
Disorder. It's a lot.
Nothing too crazy. No, just kidding.
Oh, and the big one, hemiplegic migraines, because that one's really important because it's so rare and it's so disabling, and no one knows about it.
Right. So, like, having all of those diagnoses, like, how do you think we as a society could do better around disability and I guess more in particularly kind of in your space, rare diseases and like invisible disabilities. Because I mean, you like you said, it's definitely different for you. How do you think we could do better?
Listening. That's the number one thing for sure, because people like to think that they listen, but you don't. Like, you don't actively listen. You just probably patronize me when I'm talking. But if you actually listened, you would, like for doctors, for instance, if they actually listened to me, they would look at my entire medical chart, string together all of the symptoms, and try to figure out why this is going on. But instead, if they can't figure out what's going on, they say it's in your head. Oh, it must not be happening because I can't figure it out and it's too rare. So they wait years and years until the tests actually start showing up. And if I would have got diagnosed when I was 19 as opposed to 24 with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, who knows how I would be right now. Because
Right.
it's progressive. And so as a society, not only in the medical thing, though, also in the work industry, if you just listen to the people, because it's really easy to accommodate some disabilities. It is extremely easy.
Right.
And also, not only that, a lot of disabled people, disabled souls are very capable. And just because we have disabilities, we're instantly overlooked. Like, I'm extremely capable in my career, but I've tried to apply for other jobs over the years just to see if I can do it. Because, I'm confident in what I do. Instantly, my resume gets thrown out because one Google search and you see I'm a disabled person. And it's just so frustrating because I'm probably one of millions of disabled professionals that get overlooked all the time just because of the word disabled. And they say that's not supposed to happen. They say the ADA is supposed to prevent that, but I can promise you it happens all the time because people think disabilities prevent us from doing what we need to do. And I think the best way a society can actually help the disabled is if they realize society is supposed to adapt with the disabled. Like, for instance, it's 2020. How come people just now started figuring out remote work is actually doable?
Oh my gosh, that is music to my ears, because that is that whole remote work philosophy. I've been touting that for the last several episodes of the podcast, talking about how this could be the beginning of such a huge opportunity for the disability community, because we've always heard that, oh, you can't work from home, we can't provide those accommodations, we can't do that. But now with this COVID scenario that we're in, that excuse really doesn't exist any longer.
Exactly.
So,
and in my career, for instance, I'm a broadcaster. I'm in the media, and before February 2020, you couldn't run a television station remotely. You had to be there. And so until February 2020, I was forced to keep up with my able-bodied peers unless I wanted to lose my career, basically. But now it's like, okay, well, we know we can be remote. Why can't this industry actually start adapting now? Because can you imagine the amount of disabled journalists that could get hired if there was more accommodations and a less stressful work environment? And it would be amazing because the disabled have a unique perspective. And also, being a journalist, I learned so many skills that really help my advocacy. Like, I can do graphic design, I can do pitch writing, I can do storytelling. There's so many different skills I've learned because of my journalist career and my education that I wouldn't have got if I didn't think I could be in the media. And I only thought I could be in the media because my mom was in the media and she always pushed me to overlook my bone disorder.
Sure.
And if I knew my bone disorder was actually extremely disabling, I wouldn't have done what I did. I wouldn't be a journalist because I would have understood that career could kill me. But I can't go back and fix the past, but I can make sure the future is better for other disabled journalists.
Sure.
And also help them understand this is a life skill and a career that you could possibly do. But as it is right now, it's not, I can't in good conscience say to another disabled soul, be a journalist, because I know it's a very ableist environment right now. So instead, I just got to advocate against that and hope that it changes with the whole inclusion revolution going on.
That's,
Sure.
let me jump in here if it's okay, Matthew.
Sure.
One point that you made that really kind of resonated with me is we've talked sometimes about just the workplace in general and the remote working. And that many folks, even some still, there are people that are going, I can't wait. I've got to get my team back in the office. I'm like, how come? Why? I mean, I don't care how much you're paying per square foot for office space, but if your folks are productive, and, lots of times it's management saying they can't manage you because they can't see you, and they haven't learned that skill of managing the work product yet instead of managing whether you're sitting at your desk or not. So now some, even in the public and in the private sector, have started to embrace that. In my own job, which I'm not here to condone, I've been told, you may never have to come back again. And I'm just all aglow with that. Are you saying that broadcasting now has slowly started to embrace that? Because I see a lot of, mainstream media shows that, like the nighttime talk shows are all remote from Jimmy Kimmel's house or, Jimmy Fallon's house or wherever it is. So there are lots of problems like that. I mean, how does the audio catch up? There are bands playing with each band member in a different location. I mean, how do you sync up the audio and pull that all back? So the technical side is interesting enough. But then the fact that now they're leaning into embracing that would indeed seem to be a big opportunity for the disabled, whether they're technicians or journalists or directors.
Exactly. And it's really cool because, don't get me wrong, it's been stressful because it's taken me a few months to fight for my rights as a disabled soul and an employee. And I'm really grateful that I have a company that is accepting. A lot of people don't. And so it's taken a few months, but I've gotten it to where when I'm working half of the week, I can be remote. So for half of my shift, I'm prepping my show at home. And then I go into the station and I direct my show. And then I have my break and then I run prompter. So for the things that I have to physically be in the building for, I'm there because we haven't really figured out yet how to direct remotely. And I don't know if they're looking into that. I have no idea. But I at least was able to come up with an accommodation that works for the time being. And I finally got them to really be okay with that. Because for some reason, a lot of businesses, not just mine, I know everywhere, they fight the accommodations. Like they think they're hard or something. Or that it's inconvenient to the business to accommodate something as easy as letting me work at home remote in for 3 hours as opposed to sitting in this environment and getting sicker. And I really believe that as we get, as 2020 goes into 2021, we all need to start vocalizing our rights because I've noticed over the conversations I've had with my family, for instance, they also have these ableist tendencies. They side on the corporation side as opposed to me sometimes saying, well, if you can't do it, get out of the industry. Well, no, that's not the thing. Why can't the industry adapt? It's not that I can't do it.
Right.
It's that I'm killing myself to do it. Like with hemiplegic migraines, I literally have migraines that are strokes. It's either a full-blown stroke or it's a migraine that mimics a stroke. Either way, in the moment, I can't tell. And I'll only know afterwards whether or not it was a stroke or migraine, depending on how long it takes me to recover.
Sure.
And I get that so much now because I got so stressed out last month and just the last few months, actually, and stress because of my condition, myalgic encephalitis. Any type of exertion, mental exertion, makes me really sick. So it's kind of like a snowball effect with my condition.
Hey, folks, we're going to take time out right here. We're going to ask Maria Elena to come back on our next episode and continue her conversation with Matthew. Until then, help Matthew continue his work. Please go to his website, 6wheelsconsulting.com and sign up for his list. Until then, keep rolling forward and think inclusion. See you next time.